Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. I remember doing this as a child, although since I was the youngest in my family, I don't believe I got the good side of the wishbone very often. All this week we're looking at superstitions and how they lead us into worship of things we ought not or in ways we ought not. Today we want to look at the wishbone and knocking on wood. The use of the wishbone goes back to before 400 BC. A hen and a cock were believed to have soothsaying powers. This was based on the fact that a hen squawks before it lays an egg, which they interpreted as a premonition, and in much the same way the rooster foretold the dawn. This became a thing in ancient Etruscan society, and so they would draw a circle on the ground and divide it into 20 parts, one for each letter of the Etruscan alphabet. Then they would scatter corn on it, and then set a hen before it. Then they would keep track of the letters corresponding to the corn she pecked and interpreted it. This was something, I guess, like a Ouija board is used today. When the hen died, they would take the clavicle or collarbone and use it for wishes. Now, for hundreds of years, the bone was just rubbed and not broken. However, there were more people wanting to use it for wishes than there were bones available, and in the struggle for the bone, sometimes it would break, leading to the tradition of breaking it, and the one who got the larger part would have their wish come true. The Romans picked this up and carried it to England, and then it was passed down to the Pilgrims when they came to America and began using turkey collarbones in the same way. Again, this has nothing to do with our Christian faith or our belief in God. I have mentioned to you earlier this week that superstitions are worshiping whom we ought not to worship, or worshiping in a way we ought not to worship. I think of this often when I'm around good Christian people who don't realize what they're doing when they say something and then to ward it off, they knock on wood. Knocking on wood is a tradition that began before 2000 BC among Native Americans. Native American culture and other cultures around the world greatly revered the oak tree for its strength, height, and power. They believed it was the dwelling of the sky god. They further believed that if you boasted that you would have a great battle victory or a good harvest, it was virtually guaranteed not to happen. But they also believed that boasts like this could be neutralized by knocking on the base of an oak tree. Doing that was their way of contacting the sky god and seeking forgiveness for the boast. Completely independently, the Greeks had similar ideas about oak trees, but also noticed how they were struck by lightning, and so the god they were contacting by knocking on oak trees was the god of lightning. This too was picked up by the Romans and brought to England, and the tradition to do this in the United States now actually comes from the Greek tradition and not the one original to Native Americans. One thing pretty common to the many cultures with this superstition is that the wood had to be oak. Nothing else really mattered or worked. The Dutch are an exception. For them, it didn't matter what kind of wood it was, but the wood had to be unvarnished and untooled in any way. It's amazing how we are so unaware of the pagan roots of many superstitions that we engage in daily. Perhaps we should give our actions more thought. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.